I was living in Germany in 2009 during the unfortunate event of Robert Enke. He had done his suicide exactly the same way as I had intended to do it myself. And for me, it was sort of brutal wake-up call. I knew that I had to start write down my story, but also I knew that I had to try to explain why I had decided to end my life. Not just because Robert, like me, suffering from depression was led to suicide, but also because of the discussion that followed within the media. Questions like, is suicide selfish? Did he think about his family? Did he ever think about the train driver, the people on the train? Questions I had an urge to answer. And I figured that I could do so by telling what was going on with me at that time. And perhaps by sharing my experience, I would even be able to shed some light on what is happening to people suffering from depression. Maybe I could even lift some of the taboo that is still lingering around depression or suicidal thoughts. A year later, a successful Dutch actor took his own life. He was just about 44 years old. And I remember when I read the news that night, I immediately felt guilty because I still hadn't written down my story. And not because I think I could have saved him or so, but because I always was convinced I wanted to give people who are now suffering from depression, anxiety attacks like I was back then, I wanted to give those people a possibility to identify themselves, to understand themselves, a possibility that I never had. What I mean is, I am convinced that if I would have had the possibility to read a story or listen to a story, whatever, of someone who not just suffered from the same problems, depression, anxiety, but also had taken this final step, throw himself under a train and come back to life, I certainly would have taken the time to listen to that.
And then I ask myself another question. Viktor, how would you define your success? What is your goal? I mean, you know your story, you have lived through it, you've told it so many times. What do you want? And then I realized, I depend for my power on the ability to make other people powerful, to make them able to talk about their problems or about the problems of friends or loved ones. I must awaken that possibility, because only when people start to talk, they can build relationships. That means when, for instance, after a book presentation, people come to me or write me because they want to talk to me, that means I know I have reached my goal. I may not be able to take away their loneliness or my own loneliness for that matter, but for a moment I can make them feel less alone, give them hope that most likely there is a solution, and give them courage so they can go on towards better times. For them, for myself, for all of us, together. Thank you.